Hello guys, welcome to my channel Mysteryverse. Today we are discussing about the boy king Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun was born in 1334 BC in the ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun's mummy shows that he died when he was 18 years old, but it is not known exactly how he died. Tutankhamun's body suffered damage at various stages, immediately before or immediately after death. During the curiously hasty mummification process within the tomb, where a chemical reaction caused it to ignite in its coffin, and while being extracted from the coffin, obvious damage to Tutankhamun's chest and legs suggested an accident, perhaps a chariot or hunting accident, or death on the battlefield. Others have suggested that Tutankhamun may have been murdered. Today, Tutankhamun is ancient Egypt's most famous pharaoh. But how much do you really know about the boy king? Here I brings you 8 unknown facts about Tutankhamun. Number 1. His originally name was not Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun was originally named Tutankhaten. The name, which literally means living image of the Aten, reflected the fact that Tutankhaten's parents worshipped a sun god known as the Aten. After a few years on the throne, the young king changed his religion, abandoned the Aten, and started to worship the god Amun, who was king of the gods. This caused him to change his name to the Tutankhamun, or living image of Amun. Number 2. Tutankhamun has the smallest royal tomb in the Valley of the Kings. The first pharaohs built highly conspicuous pyramids in Egypt's northern deserts. However, by the time of the New Kingdom, this fashion had ended. Most kings were now buried in relative secrecy in rock-cut tombs tunneled into the Valley of the Kings on the west bank of the Nile at the southern city of Thebes. These tombs had inconspicuous doors but were both spacious and well decorated inside. Cemeteries carried their own potent magic, and dead kings were thought to have powerful spirits that magic benefit others. Burial amongst his ancestors would have helped Tutankhamun to achieve his own afterlife. It therefore seems likely that Tutankhamun would have wished to be buried in a splendid tomb in either the main valley or in an offshoot, the Western Valley, where his grandfather Amenhotep III was buried. But whatever he may have intended, we know that Tutankhamun was actually buried in a cramped tomb cut into the floor on the main valley. It may be that Tutankhamun simply died too young to complete his ambitious plans. His own tomb was unfinished, and so he had to be buried in a substitute non-royal tomb. However, this seems unlikely as other kings managed to build suitable tombs in just 2 or 3 years. It seems far more likely that Tutankhamun's successor, a king who inherited the throne as an elderly man, made a strategic swap. Just 4 years after Tutankhamun's death, himself was buried in a splendid tomb in the Western Valley, close by the tomb of Amenhotep III. The unexpectedly small size of Tutankhamun's tomb had led to recent suggestions that there may be parts as yet undiscovered. Currently, Egyptologists are investigating the possibility that there may be secret chambers hidden behind the plastered wall of his burial chamber. Number 3. He was buried in a second-hand coffin. Tutankhamun's mummy lay within a nest of 3 golden coffins, which fitted snugly one inside another like a set of Russian dolls. During the funeral ritual, the combined coffins were placed in a rectangular stone sarcophagus. Unfortunately, the outer coffin proved to be slightly too big, and its toe peeked over the edge of the sarcophagus, preventing the lid from closing. Carpenters were quickly summoned and the coffin's toes were cut away. More than 300 years later, Howard Carter would find the fragments lying in the base of the sarcophagus. All 3 of Tutankhamun's coffins were similar in style. They were anthropoid or human form coffins, shaped to look like the god of the dead, Osiris, lying on his back and holding the crook and flail in his crossed arms. But the middle coffin had a slightly different style, and its face did not look like the faces on other two coffins, nor did it look like the face of Tutankhamun's death mask. Many Egyptologists now believe that this middle coffin, along with some of Tutankhamun's other grave goods, are originally made for the mysterious Nefertiti, an enigmatic individual whose name is recorded in inscription and who may have been Tutankhamun's immediate predecessor. We do not know what happened to Nefertiti nor how Tutankhamun came to be buried in his or her coffin. Number 4. Tutankhamun loved to hunt ostriches. Tutankhamun's ostrich feather fan was discovered lying in his burial chamber, close by the king's body. Originally, the fan consisted of a long golden handle topped by a semicircular palm that supported 42 alternating brown and white feathers. These feathers crumbled away long ago, but their story is preserved in writing on the fan handle. This tells us that the feathers were taken from ostriches captured by the king himself while hunting in the desert to the east of Heliopolis, near modern-day Cairo. The embossed scene on the palm shows, on one face, Tutankhamun setting off in his chariot to hunt ostrich, and on the reserves, the king returning in triumph with his prey. Ostriches were important birds in ancient Egypt, and their feathers and eggs were prized as luxury items. Hunting ostriches was a royal sport that allowed the king to demonstrate his control over nature. It was a substitute for battle, and as such was a dangerous occupation. We can see that Tutankhamun's body was badly damaged before he was mummified. Is the placement of his ostrich fan so close to his body significant? Is this perhaps someone's way of telling us that the young king died following a fatal accident on an ostrich hunt? Number 5. Tutankhamun's heart is missing. The ancient Egyptians believed that it was possible to live again after death, but thought that this could only be achieved if the body was preserved in a lifelike condition. This led them to develop the science of artificial mummification. Essentially, mummification involved desiccating the body in natron salt, then wrapping it in many layers of bandages to preserve a lifelike shape. The body's internal organs were removed at the start of the mummification process and preserved separately. The brain, its function the unknown, was simply thrown away. The heart, rather than the brain, was regarded as the organ of reasoning. As such, the heart would be required in the afterlife. It was therefore left in place and, if accidentally removed, immediately sew back, though not always in its original location. Tutankhamun, however, has no heart. Instead, he was provided with an amuletic scarab inscribed with a funerary spell. This may have happened simply because the undertakers were careless, but it could also be a sign that Tutankhamun died far from home. By the time his body arrived at the undertaker's workshop, his heart may have been too decayed to be preserved. Number 6. One of the Tutankhamun's favorite possessions was an iron dagger. Howard Carter discovered 2 daggers carefully wrapped inside Tutankhamun's mummy bandages. One dagger had a gold blade, while the other had a blade made of iron. Each dagger had a gold sheath. Of the two, the iron dagger was by far the more valuable because during Tutankhamun's lifetime, iron or iron from the sky, as it was known, was a rare and precious metal. It was almost entirely obtained from meteorites. Number 7. His trumpets have entertained an audience of more than 150 millions. Tutankhamun's grave goods included a small collection of musical instruments, 1 pair of ivory clappers, 2 sistra, and 2 trumpets, one made from silver with a gold mouthpiece and the other made of bronze partially overlaid by gold. This would not have made a very satisfactory orchestra, and it seems that music was not high on Tutankhamun's list of priorities for his afterlife. In fact, his trumpets should more properly be classified as military equipment, while his clappers and sister are likely to have had a ritual purpose. On 16th April 1939, the two trumpets were played in a BBC Live radio broadcast from Cairo Museum, which reached an estimated 150 million listeners. Bandsman James Tappran used a modern mouthpiece which caused damage to the silver trumpet. In 1941, the bronze trumpet was played again, this time without a modern mouthpiece. Some, influenced by the myth of Tutankhamun's curse, have claimed that the trumpets have the power to summon war. They have suggested that it was the 1939 broadcast which caused Britain to enter the Second World War. Number 8. Tutankhamun was buried in the world's most expensive coffin. Two of Tutankhamun's three coffins were made of wood, covered with gold sheet. But to Howard Carter's great surprise, the innermost coffin was made from 3 sheets of beaten gold. The coffin measures 1.88 meter in length and weight 110.4 kg. If it were to be scrapped today, it would be worth well over £1 million. But as Tutankhamun's final resting place, it is of course priceless. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe, like and share.